going into comics we're reading, let's share what some of our community has been reading or what they shared that they're reading. So from Comic Watch, we have Gabriel De Jesus says that Duna and I have reread, an Academy X / New X-Men for our show today, which is called Mutant Watch. I knew I liked it, but I forgot how grounded into the soap opera roots it was in a time where the main X-Men titles were all over the place. It also did a lot of emotional weight for the era. Aaron Kleinman said that I read issue number 1 of 7 Years in Darkness. Pretty good. Excited to see the next issue. And B Rat said, I'm reading the entire Kate Kane Batwoman comics to research for Sasha and remembering why I loved her to begin with. Rucka's hands down one of the greatest creators who have had the chance to create and cultivate some of the strongest feminist icons in DC's long and varied history. From the Illuminacasters Discord, which again, if you want to join that, I'll have the link in that in the show notes as well too. Kim from the ODPH podcast said that he is catching up on the Best Jacket Press line from Scott Snyder for Comixology or Originals and Dark Horse. Book of Evil returns on May 23rd, along with the conclusion of Dudley Datson and the Forever Machine. Joe Loves Comics said catching up with this week's polls, excited to read Avengers, Fantastic Four, Superman, and more. Otherwise, I really enjoyed Decorum from Jonathan Hickman and Image Comics when I finished it on Friday. And then on Twitter, we have So Wizard Podcast said, bruh, Hulk Annual #1 from David Pepos, who's been on the show before. He's a great guy. And then they gave 5 chef kiss emoji in their tweet there as well, too. So thank you, everybody, for sharing what you're reading and what you're really enjoying right now. There are some really good books. Mark, was there anything from that list, what everybody shared, that kind of stood out for you that you want to comment on at all?
The Batwoman stuff is always just amazing.
Yeah,
I'm so glad that exists.
Yeah, so. I have not read any solo Batwoman comics, but I'm currently actually reviewing Tim Drake Robin, and Batwoman is in this series for the last couple of issues, and it's been really cool to see them interact and kind of see a little bit more of the character from the comic books point of view. So that one's a really cool one. And Book of Evil from Scott Snyder is a really good one. I reviewed the second one, and it's very different because it's not a typical comic book, like, follows panels and stuff like that. It's actually, they'll have a page that has like 1 or 2 pieces of art, and then they have text overlay on it. So they're doing something different with the medium of comics. I don't know if it's going to be something that really revolutionize it at all, but it's a really good story, and I can see them like adapting it to a novel or adapting it to some other medium as well too. But that's a really good one that I'm really excited to hear come out. So
in terms of format, comics are so elastic sometimes.
Yes,
they sometimes can be not so elastic in terms of content, but one of the books I want to talk about is just breathtaking. You turn the page and see different things that you would never have seen in a comic 10 years ago.
So. Right. Speaking of, so what are the comics that you're reading currently?
So first of all, I gotta say I'm gonna put Basil and Oregano by Melissa Caplerione front and center by Dark Horse. Not only am I thanked in the front of this book, but I think this is one of the best graphic novels I've read this year. It's a young adult graphic novel based on teen girls at a cooking school that's magic.
Mm-hmm.
All fantastic, but a work of maturity from Melissa that I've read it a couple of times now. Just absolutely breathtaking. I want to, of course, also represent Genderqueer, which is a book that everybody should read all of the time. It's a book that's purposely being banned right now and shouldn't be. It should be in the hands of trans and LGBTQ youth. I just finished Black Cat Social Club today. This was fun. A great fun book. This is the book that I talked about. This Dark Spaces Wildfire book by Scott Snyder. This is a breathtaking book. It is a group of young women convicts who are forest fires who discover a house in the middle of the forest that has millions of dollars of crypto on a server in it.
Oh, wow.
So they decide it becomes a heist book, right? Because then they have to fight the fire and steal the crypto. but is so much more than that. There were page turns in here that I gasped both visually and story wise at.
I love that reaction. Yeah, when
Yep.
you just oh, that's awesome. That's good.
I also want to talk about independent books that you may not have seen. I'm a big collector of books that are about comics and about making comics, all the way from understanding comics to the latest thing, which I think the latest thing is this book called Filth and Grammar, which is done by Shelley Bond, who is, if you know anything about comics, she's a famous editor within comics. In a graphical way, she explains comics better than anyone I've ever understood. The business of making comics. So like she takes you through how an editor reviews your pitch. Like, this is how an editor reviews your pitch. This is what an editor is exactly looking for. And that book kickstarted from her. It has some fantastic artwork in it. This may be the best Riddler book of all time.
Yes,
without a doubt. This is my Dark Knight of Riddler comics. I'm a Riddler fan. I love Batman, but I'm a Riddler guy. I've always been a Riddler guy, right from Frank Gorshin in the Batman cartoon. And this, I would have loved to seen Frank Gorshin as an older man do this.
Oh yeah.
It would have been, with Michael Keaton as Batman, would have been absolutely brilliant. It just, there is not a Riddler book like this. And the Batman One Bad Day line has great books in it, but this is so far superior than everything else, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's really well done.
You know, it's Batman, and it's Catwoman, and it's Christmas songs, and there is love, and Batman's dead, and Batman's alive, and there's time differences, and Joker's an old guy who lives in Florida, and there's just so much there. And if you know anything about the story behind it, there's the creator, one of the creators passed away with cancer during the run of this. And so the scene he's creating, there's a scene in the annual where Batman is dying from cancer, and he's in the bathroom, and Selina is helping him, and it is one of the most poignant things I've ever seen in comics, and it's in a Batman comic.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody's in costume or anything like that, but it is a man who is sick and dealing with a life of being powerful. He's been to space on a regular basis, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you, Chip Zdarsky. Yeah.
Yes, but his body is killing him.
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely brilliant.
And what I love about that story is, just like what you said, it tells a story that spans like 60 years, but like simultaneously, from like when Batman and Catwoman were first introduced to each other to when they were pretty solid in their relationship, to when they were solid, like, they were married and things like that, to the ending part of it, and they were telling it like at the same time. So in the same issue, they would go back and forth between those moments in time that still kind of tied in together. So it was a really creative, a really interesting way to tell a story of a lifelong journey between these two characters, and so it was really, really interesting.
Along with 12 Christmas Carols,
yes,
which is
that's just like own separate issue that you can get too. Yeah,
which is clearly a nod to Sale and Loeb's Long Halloween, which is another piece of brilliant art that I love. I think I read Long Halloween at least once a year too.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Thank you. I love those books. And there's some that, as you said, like I haven't been aware of before, but some of the other ones that you said, like, I absolutely love those books. And so it doesn't surprise me that those are on there. So,
so this is my pitch. My pitch is this, that we live in a comic platinum age right now. There's more books being produced than ever before.
Right.
The big two are doing great stuff. They're struggling. I know they are, but they're making great stuff. Like some of those books are just fantastic. I
Yeah.
think the more they leave continuity behind, the better they do. But there is independent books now that are being made from
Hmm.
every company, from Dark Horse to Image to Humanoids to
Yes.
1 Second to, there's a million really good, brilliant comics being produced
Definitely.
everywhere.
Hmm.
Never mind the fact that you see stuff on Kickstarter every day where you're like, whoa, I
Yeah.
never thought of that. And that's such a cool idea.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah. And
all
great
of that.
stories too. Yeah. They're all great stories.
Yeah. And we just live a, a platinum age of comics right now. It's
Yes.
more comics are being produced, more comics are being read than ever before.
Hmm. Agreed.
Every town is a comic book shop now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, definitely. And they can range from, something like really, a large shop to, even something that might be small and it's not just comics, but they also do, uh, like toys and collectibles and things like that. There's one store, in a town I went by where it was kind of like a whole hodgepodge of stuff. And they had a rack of comics that were just like the issues that just came out. But I mean, they say they get people that come by and buy it and everything. And so it's definitely a lot more accessible than what it has been in the past. Now it's not as accessible as like when you were able to buy comics at the grocery store, but
Yeah.
I think we're seeing it, expanding back out again to what
Well,
we used
and
to see. Yeah.
if you learn the history of behind TMNT and how Laird and it got their start through
Uh-huh.
selling through head shops and things like that. That sort of head shop grew into the comic book store, which was a place where ladies did not go and was dark and had lots of long boxes. That image is also going away,
Right.
where you have now comic book shops inviting well marketed places.
Mm-hmm.
You look at you. I have one of my prized comic possessions is I have a CD that is the first 40 years. It's a DVD, the first 40 years of Fantastic Four comics that are
Oh,
scanned
cool.
in. So it has every page and the art for all the ads and everything.
Oh,
Every
that's cool.
and first of all, it is a letterer's dream because I'm like, I need an idea for a thing that goes like this. Okay,
Right.
Fantastic Four fought a motorcycle guy in this issue. There we
Right.
go. I look it up. Okay, that's how they made a motorcycle sound.
Right.
It gives you a starting point. But also all those ads, like you see the crap marketing that was in the 80s and 90s comics
Yeah.
that is now like super slick and beautiful. And we get so many books that are like this, that Batman Catwoman book is just beautiful to look at. It's
Mm-hmm.
just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And you look at the work of Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg on those Grand Design books, they're works of art for
Right.
Marvel and things like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so some of the comics I'm reading for this week is I mentioned this earlier before, but I'm currently doing reviews for Comic Watch. One of them is Tim Drake Robin #9 that's coming out. And it's a good issue. It's, if you've been enjoying Tim Drake Robin, up to this point, you'll enjoy this one. This one's a little bit, I don't want to necessarily say slower, but it seemed like, I read through it pretty quickly than some of the other issues. And it seems like there's some stuff happening, but not as much of what you've seen in the other issues. So I think this is one of those ones where it's kind of a fast read. And then I'm also doing a review for Radiant Pink #5, which was a really interesting issue. This one, again, I'm not going to spoil this for anyone, but this one I feel like probably wasn't the strongest issues in the whole series that they've had. But if you're interested in reading those reviews, I'll have that on our website. And it's also going to be on Comic Watch websites as well, too. For my pull list, I'm going to be picking up Daredevil and Echo #1, which I'm really excited about. Darkwing Duck #5, which has been a great series so far, and I absolutely love the fact that it's still going to continue on. Picking up issue #4, Spider-Man 2099 Dark Genesis, which originally I picked up and started pulling because I thought Daredevil 2099 was going to be in it, and turns out not really. So now I'm just like, I've already collected 3 issues, so I might as well finish it out. And then I'm also picking up the volume 1 of the Poison Ivy series. It's been written by G. Willow Wilson, which I read issue number 7, I believe, and I had to do the review for Comic Watch, and it was such a fantastic issue that I didn't want to read any other issues because I want to get the collected volume and be able to read it from issue 1. But another series I'm also been reading this week as well to prepare for Supermassive 2 that's coming out is I'm going back and reading all the Supermassive collections. So Radiant Black, Radiant Red, Rogue Sun, Dead Lucky, all those series. I'm going to try to read through to get caught up on all the stories, so that way I can read Supermassive and Supermassive 2 that's come out this week. So